millions of miles from Earth, one family, one pilot, and one stowaway are searching for the only thing that really matters in space. The way home.
Dad, where are we?
Next year, prepare for the most human adventure of all.
Give my regards to Oblivion.
Danger, Will Robinson, danger!
You would have thought maybe Titanic would have lost its #1 spot to a much better film, but instead, it lost to the flavor of the month. I mean, basically the flavor of the week, because Lost in Space, I mean, the marketing campaign behind this movie was pretty good. It's a high-budgeted film, cost $80 million. It's a film that you would probably see in the summertime, but they moved it up closer to April, so hopefully to get some traction before the summer movie season starts, and needless to say, it didn't do that good of a business that they wanted to. And really, if you saw the movie, you could definitely see why. Despite the good cast they have in here, William Hurt, Matt LeBlanc, Gary Oldman, Heather Graham, Mimi Rogers, a cool-looking ad campaign, to say the least. When you actually watch the film, it's really one of the corniest, most dullest things you'll ever see. Like, this show this movie makes the TV show look like a masterpiece by comparison. And the TV show was good, campy fun, but this is a mess on so many levels. I mean, the acting in here is really dull. William Hurt, a great actor, is just wasted in here. He's only got one note throughout the course of the movie. The story isn't really all that engaging or exciting. Gary Oldman as Dr. Smith should be really interesting, but they just make it stupider by the end of the movie with his master plan that he has at the end of the film. And then it gets even stupider than that when you add in this really bad-looking CGI effect named Blarp. Look, first of all, Blarp, this is a movie that's supposed to take itself seriously, and you have a character that's literally named Blarp. Like, I don't know what's worse, the name or the CG effect. It's kind of a tie between the two of them. But the CG looks absolutely horrible on him. And way to waste a good majority of the cast from the original show. I mean, you hear the robot's voice, which is the same guy who does the voice for the robot in the TV series. You have June Lockhart also in here in a cameo. There's also other people involved in here that were a part of the Lost in Space TV series. And this was the end result of it. This was the end result of it all. Nothing happens of noteworthiness in this film whatsoever. This movie just has way too much stupidity going for it to make itself stand out on its own or even be somewhat entertaining. At least with the Star Trek films, they were able to work. The Star Trek films worked because they took inspiration from the show, but they made them their own things. This just feels like a really bad knockoff of what the Star Trek films eventually were supposed to be. Like the Star Trek films. It's like it's dumber than what the Star Trek films are. Basically, what I'm trying to say here, and like it's just one of the stupidest things I've ever seen. It's a movie that has so much potential to it, and just nothing is there. They have no idea what to do with this except cash in on the name because Lost in Space is a profitable name, and just do whatever we can to get people butts in the seats. Which that first weekend it worked, but after that, everyone kind of realized, oh wait, this is a steaming pile of garbage. Let's go somewhere else. Let's go back to Titanic again. Yeah, it's like I feel like a lot of people were like Bill Paxton in the movie. Are you ready to go back to Titanic? And they're just like, yes, let's get away from this, please. And yeah. So basically, what I'm trying to say here is that the movie is pretty bad. I mean, what do you expect from the writer of Batman and Robin and the director of Blown Away? I mean, better directors, better writers could have made this work. A better story could have made this work. Actually letting the cast act in this movie instead of just being stereotypes and having the most bland dialogue in the film. I'm sorry, William Hurt in this film, he's a mess in this film. Like, his big moment where he's supposed to say goodbye to his wife, and he goes like, "I love you, wife," and he has just this look on his face like he doesn't give a crap whatsoever. Like, I just don't know, man. This is a bad movie. Avoid this one like the plague at all costs. And it may have finally knocked off Titanic as the #1 film, but it really wasn't worth it in the end. So yeah, that's Lost in Space, and the weekend's just getting started because we have some gems for you this week. Let's go to the next one, and that is Bruce Willis and Alec Baldwin in Mercury Rising.
April 3rd. A code will be broken. Impossible. A child will be threatened. There must be nothing that connects the boy in this office. And one man must stand alone.
9-year-old cracked the government's super code?
Against the power that is meant to protect us all. This is national security. From the producer of Apollo 13 and Ransom, Bruce Willis. Mercury Rising, rated R. Starts Friday, April 3rd.
So Bruce Willis plays this FBI agent who's protecting a 9-year-old autistic boy who is targeted by the these government assassins after he cracks a top-secret government code. Which, I mean, the idea for it is actually not a bad idea. It could make for a very interesting film. You have a good director involved here, too, with Harold Becker. Harold Becker, of course, is the guy that gave us stuff like Taps and The Onion Field, The Black Marble, Vision Quest, Sea of Love, Malice, movies we've talked about in the past here. This is actually his second-to-last film he's ever done as a director, and this was actually intended to be a Barry Sonnenfeld directed film. I didn't realize this until I did the research on it, that Barry Sonnenfeld was going to be the director for this, but he dropped out because of Men in Black. Arguably, honestly, that was probably the best move for him, but still, it would have been interesting to see what he would have done with a more dramatic film like this, but they brought Harold Becker in, which is not a bad choice for a director. But the movie itself, it doesn't really have enough there to keep you invested in the storyline. I think it has a good idea to it. Bruce Willis is trying his best in this film, and the kid in here, Micah Hughes, is actually pretty good in the film, all things considered, but the film overall is pretty generic and pretty forgettable. It doesn't really have that spark to really get it going. It has a good idea to it, just not the best execution. And you want to go along for it because it is such it's such an intriguing idea based off of a really good book, Simple Simon, which was the working title of the film. But yeah, the film itself is nothing really all that special. It's kind of bland. It's kind of mediocre. It doesn't really have a whole lot there to really make it something you really need to see. And it's mostly forgettable. It's a film that doesn't really have a whole lot there to make it work, despite a really good concept overall. I think a better rewrite of the script probably would have made this a whole lot better. But as it is, it's a pretty lackluster film. Nothing too bad, but nothing too great either. It's kind of it's just a mostly forgettable film. And the hits keep on coming with our next film, and that is Barney's Great Adventure, the movie.
It started having fun right now. It's magical. It's musical. It's Barney. And this time, Barney is bigger and better than ever in his first movie adventure. Lots of fun. Doing Barney, BJ, Baby Bob, and meet a special new friend, Twinken, in Barney's biggest adventure ever. Only at the movies. Barney's Great Adventure, the movie.
Yeah, so even by 1998, Barney's success was kind of dipping a little bit. He wasn't the big name that he was in the middle, like in 92 and 93, when most people knew who he was because when the show was on PBS Kids. I mean, I grew up this was right at the time when I grew up with Barney. I mean, my mother still loves Barney even to this day, even though he hasn't been on the air for over 10 years or something like that. But my family watched this as a kid. Watched this when I was a little kid. I watched the Barney specials on TV. There was one on NBC in '94 that we watched on Easter. I think it was Easter Sunday of that year. But there was also a whole bunch of. I had the Barney toys. I had the Barney shirts. But like I said, I grew up as a kid around that time period. It was perfectly set for my time period. But yeah, nowadays I could easily see the flaws of a Barney movie and a Barney TV series. Which speaking of some interesting fun facts here, I talked about how Barry Sonnenfeld was going to direct Mercury Rising. Guess who was offered $1.5 million to direct this film? And you would not think about this in any way, shape, or form, but Trey Parker, the co-creator of South Park, was offered $1.5 million to direct this film, and the crew saw that he could do funny things with kids since he did The Spirit of Christmas, the short that eventually led to South Park. But Parker eventually turned down the film. But again, kind of like with Barry Sonnenfeld and Mercury Rising, I would have killed to find out what a Trey Parker Barney movie could look like. But Daniel Kaluuya is working on a Barney movie right now, so maybe that's what that's going to be. But the film, yeah, I'm not going to sugarcoat it with you. I mean, it's not made for an adult like me nowadays. For a kid, for little kids, it's passable for what it is. But at the same time, there's nothing really all that special about Barney. He's kind of a one-note character when you really look at him. I think Nostalgia Critic, when he did his Barney's Great Adventure review, kind of perfectly sets the tone for everything that's wrong with Barney as a whole. Like, he's not an investing character. He has one emotion and one note throughout the course of everything that he's in. He's got to be happy. He's got to be excited. Like, he can't be too serious about a subject matter. Like, Barney will not last a day on Sesame Street, because Sesame Street takes time to tackle heavier subjects at play, and but this, I can't really hate it per se, because like I said, it knows exactly what it's for. It's for little kids. It's made exclusively for little kids. And even by the time this movie came out, I was watching it, I was just like, yeah, at 9 years old, I'm definitely too old for Barney right now, and I would not suggest anybody over the age of 7 watch this movie. I mean, for kids, it's fine for what it is, but at the same time, you want to give your kids something much more clever than this. I mean, little kids will definitely get a kick out of it, but for me personally, I was just it's not for me. It's not for any adult, honestly. Like, 2 to 7 years old is probably the perfect age for this film. But other than that, though, the more I get older, the more I'm just thinking about what that Trey Parker Barney movie would have been like. Like, seriously, I need to see some of those concepts that they were talking about when they were thinking about doing this, because I really would have loved to see what he would have brought to the table with this. But yeah, like I said, it's a Barney movie. Like, your little kids will like it, but really, you should give them something a lot better than this to be entertained by. Like, don't let a movie like this babysit your kids, really. Like, find something else better for them, like, seriously. But I'm just blabbering on right now. That's pretty much all I got to say about this Barney's Great Adventure. Let's go ahead and move on to a far superior movie, and a much darker movie than Barney's Great Adventure. Neil Jordan's The Butcher Boy.
Hang me.
I'm afraid there's no more hanging.
Sergeant, what's this world coming to?
From director Neil Jordan.
Based on the acclaimed novel by Patrick McKean.
Hello, Our Lady. Hello, Francie. How are things? Not so bad. I was a bit worried there for a while.
The Butcher Boy.
If Taika Waititi didn't take inspiration from this movie for Jojo Rabbit, I'm going to be pleasantly surprised by that, because this movie has a lot of ideas, and the way it's filmed, the way it's put together. I swear, there were times that I thought, this kind of reminds me of a Taika Waititi-oriented project, like something more like Jojo Rabbit, except Jojo Rabbit takes place 20 years before this in a different country. But basically, the story of The Butcher Boy is that you're following this 12-year-old Irish boy who is retreated into a violent fantasy world to escape the reality of his dysfunctional family as his circumstances worsen. His sanity deteriorates, and he begins acting out with increasing brutality. I mean, needless to say, this is much more heavier than a Taika Waititi movie. Excuse me. But it's a pretty damn good movie. It's a film that is kind of underappreciated in terms of Neil Jordan's other works. It is very, very dark, very comedically over the top, very much a black comedy that almost is kind of like a mix between a Taika Waititi film as well as a Monty Python movie back in the glory days. I mean, I feel like it meshes together in this particular film, and the acting overall, really good stuff here. The young boy, Eamon Owens, is really good in here. So is Stephen Ray. Fiona Shaw is also in here. Brendan Gleeson, Sinead O'Connor's in this film playing the Virgin Mary. Rest in peace, Sinead O'Connor. She just died recently as of the day I'm recording this in August of 2023. But the movie overall is really good. It's a very stylized film, a very dark black comedy. It has a really good cast involved here, some good darker moments, but it's a really good film. And the last film for the Geffen Film Company, what a way to go out with this film. I think it was a film that was maybe too ahead of its time, maybe. I think nowadays this movie would have been appreciated a little bit more. And it's a really good, underrated film. I'd say definitely check it out. It's definitely well worth the time to check out. So that's The Butcher Boy. But let's get to probably the best movie overall this weekend, and that is David Mamet's The Spanish Prisoner.
If what you've done for them is valuable as you say it is, if
they are indebted to you morally, but not legally, my experience is they will give you nothing, and they will begin to act cruelly toward you. Why? To suppress their guilt.
Of course, Steve Martin has a role in this film, and he's really one of the best things about the movie. I'll delve into him when it comes to the casting in this in just a little bit, but this is David Mamet's writing and directorial effort in which it basically tells the story of a corporate espionage conducted by an elaborate confidence game, and you have people like Campbell Scott, Rebecca Pidgeon, Ben Gazzara, Felicity Huffman, and Ricky Jay among the cast in here. And the casting overall is great in the film. Steve Martin, usually, this is a rare dramatic performance from him, where he still gives kind of a lighthearted comedic performance for this, but it's more dramatic than some of his other stuff. Like, it reminded me of Pennies from Heaven, which was a very criminally underrated movie that he did back in the 80s, and this is probably one of his strongest performances ever. I mean, this is a really good performance he gives in this film that really should have given him an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actor. But the rest of the cast in this movie is really good, too. Campbell Scott, Ben Gazzara, Felicity Huffman, Ed O'Neill's in here, Clark Gregg, Jonathan Katz. Just a really good, phenomenal cast. And the writing of David Mamet. David Mamet does not usually write a lot of bad stuff, and in this movie, it's another really good concept here of Mamet's shtick. Like, it's been known as Mamet speak, where he's famous for his dialogues, which are characterized by incomplete sentences, foul language, stutters, restarts, and interruptions. And it's once again what you come for with a David Mamet film, and it's the film overall is very reminiscent of a modern day Hitchcockian type of thriller. It's a very solid, entertaining film, keeps you on the edge of your seat, keeps you invested in what's going on, with a great score by Carter Burwell, a phenomenal cast. It's just a really, really great film. Easily the best film to come out this weekend, hands down. Definitely seek The Spanish Prisoner out if you haven't seen it already.
No one can see you unless you want them to. But if I want them to, fell in love with one of us. He can give up his existence as he knows it. He can give up eternity and become pure. Nicholas Cage, he loves you that much. Meg Ryan. Yes. City of Angels, rated PG-13. Starts Friday, April 10th at a theater near you.
So this is actually a loose remake of Wim Wenders' Wings of Desire, which was set in Berlin, and this actually came out only 11 years after that movie did. And this one takes place in Los Angeles. You have a story about an angel played by Nicolas Cage who ends up falling in love with a mortal woman played by Meg Ryan, and wishes to become human in order to be with her. And with the guidance of a man played by Dennis Franz, who's already made that transition from immortality, the angel falls and discovers the human experience. And it's got an interesting idea here. There are a lot of themes taken from Wings of Desire, but the ending was altered to have more of a tragic effect to it. The writer of this is Dana Stevens. We've already looked at one of the first movies she wrote, which was Blink, back in '94. And more recently, she's been known for writing stuff like The Woman King, which came out recently. And as far as this one goes, it's a decent film, but it's nothing really all that special to it. It's directed by Brad Sobelning. It's his first film he did after Casper. I don't know, Casper kind of almost had sort of a similar storyline, similar elements to this film, in that film, with Amy Brenneman playing the dead wife of Bill Pullman's character. But yeah, as far as this one goes, it's fine for what it is. It's a film where you get to see a different Nicolas Cage than what you're used to seeing. Meg Ryan gives another really good performance in this film, but other than that, though, I mean, we've seen this done over and over again. It's nothing really anything too special or too unique, although I like that they changed the ending up from what the original Wim Wenders film did with Wings of Desire. But other than that, though, there's not really a whole lot there that makes it that unique or different to make it stand up on its own, or even be considered as a truly great film. It's visually pleasing to look at. As far as everything else goes about it, it's perfectly fine for what it is. It's not one I'd watch over and over again, but it's at least tolerable. It's a good for one-time watch. Not much more after that. If you want to see Nicolas Cage in a role that's very different from what we used to see him in, I'd say definitely check it out, but don't go in there expecting a true classic film by any means. So that's City of Angels, and don't expect looking for a classic in our next film either, because it's Species 2.
I heard they were going to send a mission to Mars. I strongly urge the government to reconsider.
Patrick Ross returned home a hero.
You're going to be president of the United States someday.
A champion.
My sister decided to join us.
And a carrier.
Something wrong with you, Dad.
Of the deadliest DNA in the universe. Now, the only chance for the human race
Eve was recreated from a frozen lab embryo.
is the woman who tried to destroy it.
We need your help to find Patrick.
Recreated by science, she is now half human.
I see what he sees.
Got it! Her loyalty is to man, but her instinct is to mate.
We've got 2 aliens running around. If these 2 were to mate, the offspring would be unstoppable.
It's like some sort of damn freak show.
Hold on for the sexiest thrill ride of the season. Species 2, rated R. Starts Friday in theaters everywhere.
I mean, what did they think was going to happen? I mean, no, really, what the hell did you think was going to happen when you have a woman who has half of the creature from the first movie, and she meets this other person who's been affected by the same stuff that was given to the other person in the first movie, and what the hell did you think was going to happen? You basically have a story of an astronaut son of a senator. He's infected by an extraterrestrial organism during a mission to Mars, causing the death of many women upon his return. And to stop him, the scientist who created the human extraterrestrial hybrid, still from the original species, uses a more docile clone of hers. But as you can tell, it does not go well whatsoever. And yeah, the first species was nothing too special whatsoever. It only got by because of the TNA, and in this, it's basically just more in that, except on a much more lower scale. And like the film has no real sense of enjoyment factor to it. Like, you can tell they're trying to do the same thing for Species, what Terminator 2 was supposed to be. But Terminator 2 was much better written. They had better people behind it. They had the same director from the first movie who was willing to upgrade everything with better special effects. The special effects in this movie look absolutely horrible. And the story, there's nothing creative about it whatsoever. It's a film that just really, it was clearly made because the first movie was a big success. So you got to cash in quickly. And this film barely made any of the money that the first movie made. It didn't even make $20 million here in America alone. And yeah, it was a big, big bomb. And despite this, they made sequels off of it because I guess Species is a name that you still use, even though nobody cared about this after the first movie. And this movie clearly tells you why. I got nothing else for you on that one. This is a film that was just, it was dead on arrival. They didn't do anything special. They just stamped a franchise name on there and tried to sell it off as another movie that people wanted to see, and nobody went to go see it. So, not much more to say about that one. That's Species 2. So, let's go ahead and actually get into a good movie that came out this weekend, and that is the Ice Cube directed The Players Club.
Hey, how much money you make working here?
I make enough.
Use what God gave you.
Where y'all dancing? The Players Club.
From the producers of Friday.
You got Luke in the house. Luke and the 2 little crew.
Ain't no shame in them walking around bugging naked.
It's starting to smell like aqua. Anybody ever told you look just like the father from Good Times?
The Players Club, rated R.
Or the better version of Striptease and Showgirls. I mean, this is the best of the stripper movies of the late 90s. But then again, that's not really saying a whole lot. You have this woman played by Lisa Ray McCoy, Diana, who's a young mother working at a shoe store. She meets 2 strippers, and they tell her that she'll work at the Players Club for big money. The woman accepts the offer, and as soon as introduces her cousin into the club, and then she finds out that her cousin is doing house calls with this other woman, bribed her to do. And one day, Diana returns to her house after almost being raped by an obsessed fan and finds her cousin sleeping with her ex-boyfriend. She kicks her cousin out, starts dating this DJ at the club played by Jamie Foxx. They go out one night and Diane's cousin calls after her to pick her up for a bachelor party. Diane refuses, and soon after her cousin is raped. And now she has only one option to put one of the strippers, Trix, in her place. And yeah, it goes heavy on it's a much heavier storyline, but it isn't afraid to mix up the comedy and the dramatic parts in there, and it's done pretty well. I mean, for the movie itself, like I said, it's what I think a movie like a Showgirls or a Striptease was trying to be like, but instead they just went for the hardcore TNA and nothing else in terms of story wise. But I mean, here you get a lot of enjoyment from the actors in here. I mean, Lisa Ray McCoy in the first film does very good here. Bernie Mac is very good here. Monica Calhoun, A.J. Johnson, Ice Cube, Jamie Foxx, John Amos, Tiny Lister's in here, Charlie Murphy, Terrence Howard, Faison Love, Michael Clark Duncan, just a phenomenal cast in this film, and a really good storyline that you get invested in very well. Like, you get invested in here. And it's a shame that Ice Cube never really did any more directing after this. I really would have liked to see what he would have done with more directorial projects here, because there is a lot of, you can tell he put his effort into this and made a pretty entertaining film that really is very underrated, I would think. Did not get a lot of good reviews when it came out, but honestly, when you compare it to some of the other stripper movies of the 90s, the late 90s I should say, it's easily the best one of the bunch, and it helps to have a good cast, a good story, and a good director from Ice Cube. Like I said, I really would have liked to see what he would have done if he had gotten more chances to direct films like this, but I don't think he's ever directed another film after this. I could be wrong on that. He's never directed another film, but he did direct a 30 for 30 ESP episode straight out of L.A. talking about the Los Angeles Raiders in the 80s. But other than that, he's never directed anything, and I really would have liked to see what he could have. I thought I saw another name there, but yeah, I would have liked to see what he would have done as a director on another film. But Players Club definitely is very underrated. I think it's a film that a lot of people should definitely check out. So, anyway, back to the crap again. Here's Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau in The Odd Couple 2.
From roommates.
Nothing has changed, Felix. I'm still a pig. You're still a human vacuum cleaner.
Two in-laws.
We're going to a wedding. My daughter and his son.
The road to friendship.
Don't get Cisco, Felix. I'm too old to hit, but I could spit you to death.
You two don't get along too well, do you?
Keeps getting odder.
Open the window, will you?
It is open.
Jack Lemmon, Walter Matthau, The Odd Couple 2.
Didn't you fix that yet?
Rated PG-13. Sneak preview Saturday, April 4th.
Yeah, this was sitting in a drawer at Paramount Pictures for 10 years. So, actually, not even at Paramount Pictures. In Neil Simon's offices, he literally said that he had 37 pages written for this movie, which he said was left sitting in the drawer for 10 years. And by that point, you might as well just not even make the movie, man, because, oh boy, this is bad. Like, this film is... It's one of the most unnecessary sequels you will ever see in your life. It's been 17 years since Oscar and Felix saw each other for the last time. And Oscar's living in Florida, Felix is living in New York, and one day Oscar's called by his son Brucey, who invites him to his wedding to Felix's daughter Hannah next Sunday in California. Oscar and Felix meet again in Los Angeles International Airport and take a rental car in order to get to San Molino for the wedding. The trip develops into an odyssey starting with Oscar forgetting Felix's suitcase at the budget station, going over the complete loss of directions, several difficulties with the police, a dead person, toupee, underwear, revenge-hungry cowboys, and ended up with Felix meeting the one and only woman, but the wedding has to be reached on time. Do you really care about this? Like, haven't we seen so many movies like this where the stories have been like this over and over and over again? Like, there is literally nothing about this movie that requires it to exist. Like, you know, this concept has been done so much better. When the Flintstones did this in the 90s much better, they did the same storyline with Pebbles and Bam Bam getting married as adults. And one of them was I Yabba Dabba Doo, and the other one was Holly Rockabye Baby, I think the other one was. But it's the same concept there, except in this case, it's not done as well. It's trying to mix in not only The Odd Couple but Grumpy Old Men too, because like it feels like there was no effort put into this film to make this sequel feel warranted. I think the studio just said, we want to see Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau again one last time, so let's just take this garbage that you've had sitting in your desk for literally a decade and just make that movie. When, like, you've got Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau in their last film together. You could have given them something much better to do with this. Nobody cared about this movie. It was both a critical and financial failure, and it's one of the most pointless, worthless sequels ever made. And this is the same studio that put out the sequel to Terms of Endearment that nobody was asking for 13 years after the fact. The original film came out in 1968. This thing took 30 years to get made, and it wasn't worth it at all. You've never seen this movie you've never seen this movie is on DVDs or Blu-rays, and even if you see it on Blu-ray, you have to go to like the most boutique shops in the world online, or just anywhere that's not a big box retailer to find it. And nobody cares. Nobody cares about this movie whatsoever. And it's a shame that Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau's last film was this garbage film. You want to see them in one last great movie, Go back and look at Out to Sea. That's a far funnier movie, a much more clever movie that uses their talents, and it's much better than anything in this film. This film is a complete waste of time. It's one of the most pointless sequels you'll ever see. It's garbage. It's an absolute piece of garbage film. And not much more to say about that one. Let's add some more adjectives as we look at our next movie, which is almost as bad as The Odd Couple 2. It's Billy Crystal in My Giant.
Critics are calling My Giant a winner.
Good morning.
Enormously entertaining and surprisingly powerful, Billy Crystal shines in a sweet comedy that's all heart.
I could put you in the movies.
Brilliantly acted, written, and directed, My Giant is the biggest comedy to come along in years.
You're my friend.
Billy Crystal, Kathleen Quinlan, and George Mirasan. My Giant, rated PG, at theaters Friday, April 10th.
Here's another movie that was just a bad idea. That was just they thought they had something clever right from the get-go, because here's this 7.5-foot tall guy with this tiny little guy played by Billy Crystal, and hijinks ensue. And no, it doesn't. Billy Crystal plays a down-on-his-luck movie agent. He goes to this site in Romania to be with his only client, his former paperboy. But once he gets there, the kid tells him he's getting a big-time agent and that he is fired. And the agent roams the countryside until he loses control of his car and overturns the pond, where he seemingly is going to drown until a gigantic pair of hands comes out to pull him from the car, and he finds out he's in a monastery, and the 7.5-foot man, played by NBA player George Mirasan, rescues him. Money dances in front of the agent as he figures ways to get back to America and into the movies, and the giant is only interested in getting to Gallup to see his childhood girlfriend. And the agent gets him a small role in this Romanian thrill film movie, which is his plane fare. Then he takes him to Las Vegas, where he convinces Steven Seagal to include the giant in a new action film. And just the hijinks after that, if you want to call them hijinks, ensue from there. And the movie just feels like it's a film that is just... It only exists to just have this 7.5-foot guy with this tiny guy in Billy Crystal. And Billy Crystal's not a tiny guy, but... it's just a movie that exists only because of this tall guy that from the, I guess back then he was with the Washington Wizards. I saw the New Jersey Nets there, but no, at the time he was with the Washington Wizards. But it's one of those movies where it's just like, you don't even know if this guy can really act all that well. And he's fine in here, I guess, but he's not really given all that much to do except just stand there and be tall. That's just your character right there. Oh, and Vern Troyer was in here too, so we can have a scene with him. So we can eventually have a scene with him and the guy that would eventually become Mini-Me. But you see the names in there. You see Kathleen Quinlan. You see Dan Castellaneta, Doris Roberts. Who else is in here? Estelle Harris. Just notable names that you've seen in many other films. But other than that, though, it's just a movie that just doesn't need to exist. It only exists because of one thing and one thing only. The tall guy and the little guy, and that's all. They wanted to make a poster. That's the movie itself. Like this feels like a movie that if you had one of those TV shows and they had one of those fake trailers that come on screen, this feels like it would have been one of those movies. Like it feels like it's something out of Funny People, like one of those movies that Adam Sandler's character would have made. But no, it's an actual movie, and let me just say that I didn't think anything could come close to the horrors of Father's Day the previous year, but this comes close. This comes really, really close. So, that's My Giant. And let's keep the shit train going, ladies and gentlemen, because we have our next movie here. Three Ninjas, High Noon at Mega Mountain.
Get ready for the thrill ride of the year. The Three Ninjas are back. Let's rock! Teamed with the ultimate ally, Hulk Hogan. Teamwork! They're power-packed partners, pumping with pure energy.
Want a piece of me? Come and get it.
Hulk Hogan, Lonnie Anderson, Jim Barney, Three Ninjas, High Noon at Mega Mountain.
With Hulk Hogan with this really bad-looking I mean, like his really bad blonde wig that he has on. Lonnie Anderson looking like a dominatrix throughout the entire movie, and Jim Varney, who probably is the only one who's actually trying in this movie, but it's the Three Ninjas movies. I mean, come on. Who was really asking for a third installment in the Three Ninjas movies, where the first movie wasn't even all that great to begin with? And, like, what do I even need to say about it? It's Three Ninjas High Noon at Mega Mountain. Of course it's not going to be any good. It is directed by Sean McNamara, who gave us Casper, A Spirited Beginning, and then gave us the infamous Bratz movie that Avi Arad called X-Men for Teenage Girls. And I mean, shit, if that's all you need to know about what this director's talents are, that's probably all you need to know about if you're going to like this movie or not. And, yeah, I didn't like this movie. Thank God this series came to an end after this, because nobody was asking this to become a trilogy. Absolutely no one. So, I got nothing else for you. Three Ninjas High Noon at Mega Mountain. So, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie here, and that is Michael Moore's The Big One.
Michael Moore, The Big One.
So this is a documentary film from Michael Moore. It documents Moore during his tour promoting his book at the time in '96, and much of the film is about him unsuccessfully chasing the heads and chief executives of major corporations around the U.S. in order to confront them or conduct a personal in-depth interview. He's eventually able to talk with Nike, and the film criticizes President Clinton and other major candidates from the '96 presidential election for failure to address economic issues. It also discusses Clinton's betrayal of progressive economic ideals. And it's Michael Moore. It's a Michael Moore documentary, and it's him coming back to form after his last movie was his only scripted film he ever did, which was Canadian Bacon. But other than that, though, this does not hold up as much as some of Michael Moore's other documentaries, because it doesn't have that same spark as something like the movies that would follow after this. You know, Bowling for Columbine and Fahrenheit 9/11 and Sicko, Capitalism: A Love Story. Those movies, I think, served much better purposes. But this, it felt like Moore was kind of lost in what he was trying to do here. It doesn't really feel like he had a good idea of what exactly he was trying to go for in this film, at least judging from what I saw from the first time I ever saw this. But I mean, I don't think it's one of his best documentaries, and it helps that the ones that came after this were much better after this one. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got for you on that one. That's The Big One. So on to the last film we have here, and that is Sonatine. We actually just talked about this director's other movie that came out in '98, Hanabi, and this is another film he directed. But this one was actually originally released in Japan in 1993. This one, several yakuza from Tokyo are sent to Okinawa to help end a gang war. The war then escalates, and the Tokyo drifters decide to lay low at the beach. And again, kind of like with Hanabi, this is one of those movies that really looks pretty cool. It looks very interesting, visually stunning. I mean, it's got a scene where you have a is that a parrot or I think this is a parrot. Let me show you what I mean. That's a parrot, isn't it? Yeah, that's a parrot. I think that's a parrot. But yeah, I saw that in the trailer. I was just kind of like, no, that's a pretty striking image when you actually see it in the trailer. But the movie itself goes, I don't really know if it's any good or not because I haven't seen it. But I mean, just like with the other movie, though, I am kind of tempted to check it out. I mean, this director, Takashi Kitano, I think he's got a good idea of what he's trying to go for here, and I think it does look like it could be something really interesting. So maybe one day I'll definitely check it out, but that is Sonatine.
Hi.
Hi.
Lena saw she found the perfect roommate,
Are you sleeping with her? Vince, I'm gay.
You are?
but her idea of perfect
I just adore you.
isn't everybody else's.
I'm gonna fix you up.
I don't want to be fixed up.
You can get close to a woman without sleeping with her.
Help! Aren't men just such jerks?
Jennifer Aniston,
I want you to be with me.
Paul Rudd,
I don't want to lose you.
the object of my affection.
So Jennifer Aniston and Paul Rudd are the couple in this, except the story is that you have this pregnant New York social worker who develops romantic feelings for her gay new friend. The pregnant woman is Aniston, and of course the gay friend is Paul Rudd, and decides to raise her child with him and the complications that ensue. And you can definitely see where this movie could go off the wagon pretty quickly, but for the most part, it plays it pretty okay, but it doesn't really do anything that makes it anything special or unique whatsoever. It's a movie that's just kind of there, and considering some of the other movies that Aniston has done, stuff like Picture Perfect, and there was another one that she did that I can't remember right off the top of my head. Let me see if I can find it here. Maybe that was it. Maybe because Picture Perfect was her first starring vehicle. She was in She's the One, which was which was actually a really good movie. And The Object of My Affection is one that it's kind of there. It has some good ideas, but it just doesn't have the right execution to go with it. Like, I like the ideas that they're setting up here. There are some pretty good effective scenes in here, and you do buy into the chemistry between Aniston and Rudd, despite the obvious reasons why they can't get together, because one of them is gay and the other is straight. I mean, as far as the rest of the movie itself goes, it's pretty mediocre. I mean, the movie is trying its best to really pull together, but it just can't really take that big step that it needs to really make it a unique experience or something different from the other movies that are very similar to this. But I appreciate the effort that they tried to pull in there. I just wish they would have gone all the way through with it, but unfortunately they don't, and the film kind of ends up just being pretty mediocre, to say the least. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got for you on that one there. So, not a good movie, but certainly not a bad movie per se. It definitely could have been a whole lot better considering where they were going in the direction that they had. But as it is, it's a mediocre film. It's okay, but it's not something you'd want to watch over and over again. I certainly don't want to watch it over and over again. So that's The Object of My Affection. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, the second feature family film from DreamWorks, Paulie.
I'm Paulie. The theatrical hit movie, Paulie, is coming to video. Join this amazing parent.
You can talk.
Don't they talk?
I say taco, they say taco.
Taco. On his incredible journey.
Can you tell me where I am?
Full of fun.
Say, do you realize we're both naked?
And adventure.
Woohoo! See ya.
It's the most enchanting family film since Babe. Paulie, in stores September 29th.
This is one that a lot of people really forgot about. I mean, I saw this movie in theaters when I was little, and I remember kind of enjoying it, but I haven't gone back to see it in a long time. I didn't watch it again until about maybe, I don't know, 5 years ago. You basically have a story here of Jay Moore playing a wisecracking, disobedient, talking parrot named Paulie, who's been locked in the cage in a basement, and he shares his adventurous stories to this janitor, played by Tony Shalhoub. You also have Cheech Marin, Jenna Rollins. Like I said, Jay Moore plays the title character as well as an on-screen supporting role. And he has a lot of dialogue in the movie. And Jay Moore can be very funny, and he's pretty good in the role of parrot here. And I do remember, watching it again, I do think I really do like this film. I think it actually has held up a little bit more than I thought it was going to. The movie overall is a solidly made film. It's not a classic movie by any means necessary, but it has a lot of good performances in here. Cheech Marin's really good in here. You have Haley Eisenberg, the Pepsi girl from the 90s, playing the younger version of Marie, and then you have Trini Alvarado from The Frighteners as the adult version. As I mentioned, Jenna Rollins is in here. This is Buddy Hackett's last film role. Bruce Davidson's playing this research scientist. Bill Cobbs is in the film as well. The parrot effects actually work pretty well here, and I do like that the movie is not what you think the trailer is going to be, but like the trailer makes it think like it's going to be like a typical generic family film where you have to have the wisecracking jokes, and let's have the kind of the racial stereotype, kind of a little bit of the racial stereotypes, because Cheech Marin, of course, is Mexican, and he is Mexican. Let's see, Latin American. Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize for that, but you saw in the trailer there, he's talking about the parrots, and he's talking about how if they say taco, he say taco. It's just like, yeah, that kind of stuff can get pretty old pretty quickly. But luckily, it does not take up the whole majority of the film. You actually do get invested in Paulie finding Marie and getting back to this woman that really liked him when he was a kid. And when they meet, it's actually very well done. It's a really solidly made film, and it's one that a lot of people don't really talk about anymore. It's not something unlike Mouse Hunt, where Mouse Hunt, I think, really holds up on a number of levels and makes it a classic film. This isn't quite a classic per se. Not everything about it works, but as far as the movie itself goes, it's perfectly serviceable. It does well enough than what it does, and I would say that I'd watch it again easily. It's a film that I think has gotten better over time. I think it is a solidly made film. I would definitely recommend checking it out. It's a film that not a lot of people know about. It's definitely a very underrated film. I'd say definitely check it out. And so that's Paulie, and let's go to another underrated film. I can't believe I'm even saying this about this movie, but let's talk about a surprisingly good sequel, and that is Major League Back to the Minors.
This season, the funniest guys in baseball,
Just take a deep breath and let it rip.
are back.
Mr. Buzz got nailed by that missile.
In a completely different league.
Please, send me one real baseball player. And if you can't, you might as well just strike me dead.
They're just 9 players short of a dream team.
You are out of here!
They're not just your normal players.
The hood helps Serrano focus. Hell, all I know is it looks dumb as hell and he has to be led up to home plate.
They train different.
Could have been called for unnecessary roughness on that one.
They run different.
Lance the Dance scores on what appears to be a double southpaw and a triple axel thrown into.
And they catch different.
I like pop, best friend.
There are 2 kinds of baseball. There's big league, and then there's little league. This smells a little bit like a challenge. You can either play the buzz, you can have the entire world of baseball call you a coward. I'm gonna give you the beating of your life. We'll see about that. Yeah, we will.
These guys are just crazy enough
We're gonna sleep like these hell.
to try something crazy.
Let's go out there and take a bite out of the big team's ass.
Beat that into submission!
Once you get the ball into another zip code, it'll suck.
Major League. Back to the minors.
So much for beating them in a submission.
Shut up. The diamond has never been so rough.
Get the trainer. Better bring back ice.
I'm sorry, watching Ted McGinley getting hit by that baseball always makes me laugh. It's stupid as hell, but I laughed hard the first time I saw it, and, you know, that's something that I just love watching. I want to watch it again, actually. Can we watch it again?
So much for beating them in a submission.
Shut up. The diamond. The diamond. The diamond. How's the diamond? The diamond. The diamond.
I know it's stupid. I know it's not a clever gag, but I'm sorry. Just the way they shot that, the way that ball just almost simultaneously hits him right in the face, is just like, it's one of the stupidest, funniest moments I've ever seen in a sequel, and quite honestly, it was one of the many, many surprises when I saw this movie for the first time, because I did not like Major League 2, and I really did not think I was going to go into Major League Back to the Minors with any enjoyment out of it, and I'm not going to lie, I did really enjoy this more than the second movie. Now, don't get me wrong, this is not a great movie, or even a good movie, but compared to the second film, where you had many of the same people in that movie, and that had a PG-13 rating behind it, I mean, that movie should have been dead on arrival, but this is actually a slight improvement over the last one. I mean, it doesn't lower the humor down like they did with Major League 2. It's not a PG-rated sequel, which this series has an R-rated film, a PG-rated film, and a PG-13 rated film. Like, I don't think I've ever seen a franchise that has so many different ratings for so many different movies. But like I said, it's a tad better and gets the film back to kind of the humor the first film had, even though that was rated R. There are funny moments in there. A lot of it is stupid humor, but the good kind of stupid humor. The kind where it happens, you know that the people who wrote this know it's stupid, and you don't expect it to work, and somehow it does work. And a lot of the jokes in this do fall flat, but when they work, they actually do work. I like the cast in this a lot. Oh, jeez. Sorry about that. Where was I? Oh, yeah. The cast overall is very much okay. Scott Bakula has a decent role in here. Yep, Tim McGinley playing your classic, typical bad guy. Corbin Burnson's back as Roger Dorn. Bob Uecker's back. You also have Dennis Haysbert, a young Walton Goggins as well. It's your typical underdog story. It's a very predictable story, but then again, it's what you'd expect in this series. The fact that I actually found some enjoyment out of this was awe-inspiring to me. It's not a great movie, but it's at least a passable, slightly enjoyable film than the last movie, which is more than I can say about Major League 2. It took me by surprise, and I got value out of this movie that I never thought I was going to get, but the first Major League movie will always be the best film in the series, hands down, and it warrants a lot of rewatchability. Major League 3 is just okay. Go in expecting less, and you actually get a lot of enjoyment out of it. You know what it reminds me of, actually? Free Willy 3 The Rescue from last year, which was a film that, it's not a good film, but it certainly beats the crap out of Free Willy 2, and I feel like this movie pretty much is on that same pathway. I mean, what more can you say, man? I found myself really enjoying this movie a lot more than I thought it was. So, on to the next film, Night Watch.
Gladden Bells was a full-time student who needed a nighttime job, but he just accepted the wrong one.
The 17-year-old girl was found dead this evening.
No.
I saw her in the hallway.
He's the prime suspect.
I think someone is trying to frame me.
And in the eyes of a killer, the next victim.
There's someone very dangerous breathing down your neck.
Night Watch.
So Ewan McGregor plays this law student who's hired as a night watchman at a hospital morgue, and you have this string of gruesome prostitute murders committed by a necrophiliac serial killer, quickly pointing to him as the lead suspect in the investigation carried out by this inspector played by Nick Nolte. And at the same time, Martin is slowly discovering clues to the point to the real perpetrator. This is actually a remake of a Danish film called Night Watch, but this is directed by Ole Borredal, who also directed that film, and this was actually co-written by Steven Soderbergh. And that kind of intrigued me the first time I saw it. And you have a great cast here: Ewan McGregor, Patricia Arquette, Josh Brolin, Lauren Graham, Nick Nolte, Brad Dourif, John C. Reilly. You see him in the trailer, even though he's uncredited in the actual film. So my interest was definitely piqued coming into this film. I thought maybe this could be something very unique and very interesting, but it's not. It's kind of a letdown, honestly, but it does have elements where the horror aspects do work, and you could definitely tell Soderbergh's writing, where Soderbergh's writing is as you watch the film go along. But the film itself is just pretty bland and mediocre, and doesn't really have an engaging mystery that it should have. And for that, the film kind of suffers because of it. Despite the great performances that they have in here, and a script by co-written by Soderbergh, you would think this would be a whole lot better, but unfortunately, it's not. It's a film that really just doesn't really live up to the hype that it should have. And I've never seen the original film, so I can't really compare the two, but I feel like the original probably did this a lot better. Maybe not. Maybe I don't know. Like I said, I haven't seen it, so I can't really say for sure. But I did kind of wish it was better, though. I remember seeing it a while ago, and it's one of those movies where I was just kind of like, yeah, this doesn't really work for me. It's just like, I really was disappointed by this film a lot. So, and I was let down by it, especially with the talent on board, both in the writing and the cast overall. You only wish it could be so much better than it actually is. So that's Night Watch. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one we have here, and that is Christopher Walken's Suicide Kings.
Who's got you? And what do they want?
Guys, throws you a death notice. Now we play my way. Suicide Kings. Rated R.
Of course, this was when the Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction, and basically Quentin Tarantino was at his prime, so everybody had to copy him, and here's another film that does that. You have a group of youngsters kidnapping a respected mafia figure, and you have Christopher Walken as the mafia figure, Dennis Leary, Henry Thomas, Sean Patrick Flannery, Jay Moore, Jeremy Sisto, Johnny Galecki, Brad Garrett's also in here, Larson Giacomo, Laura Harris, Cliff DeYoung. I mean, there's a good cast involved in here, but kind of like with some of the other movies we looked at on here, big stars doesn't always guarantee a very good film, and it's hard not to look at this and not think of another Reservoir Dogs, like Diet Reservoir Dogs. I mean, it's literally almost for that. Just replace the cop with a mafia boss. But Christopher Walken was pretty good in it, though, so I'll give him that. He was the one person who was carrying the load for this film. But we've seen this done before over and over again, and you expect a whole lot more with the talent that they have on here, and a story that could be something if you actually took the time to not copy somebody else's material, but I didn't get that from this movie. It's kind of a forgettable film. As much as Christopher Walken really carries the film, it's not worth it in the end. So let's move on to the next movie, and that is Sour Grapes.
We on for this weekend?
Atlantic City?
I don't know. It's going to be great. We drive down, we gamble, and you get the whole night for your hotel sex. Yeah. How you going to pass up a chance for hotel sex?
Boy, you might tapped out.
You got 2 quarters, I'm out.
Here, go crazy.
Oh! It's me! It's me! It's me! It's me! I'm rich! I just won $436,000.50.
They were my quarters.
You think he should give you money?
You should give me half the money. I was the one playing the machine.
Don't you give him a penny.
You'd be crazy if you do.
Why should I give him money from my machine?
And that's the entire movie. God, I wish I was kidding, but that's literally the entire movie. I mean, this is basically another version of the dilemma where one simple thing could easily wrap this up in like 10 minutes after it happens, but then we wouldn't have a movie. And yeah, even Larry David does not like this movie. You forget that Larry David, the creator of Seinfeld, wrote and directed this movie. This was supposed to be his big jump into Hollywood after leaving Seinfeld after the previous season, not the last season, but the season before that. But even Larry David himself has said that he has not liked this movie. In fact, he has a poster for the set that was put up in his office while he was working on the first episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm. He had that poster removed, and he got sick and tired of looking at it after one show. In a later episode, the character tells his wife on Curb Your Enthusiasm to stop lending people the film, and says he doesn't believe a friend who claims to have enjoyed that movie, saying she was just trying to be polite. So that should pretty much tell you everything you need to know about this movie. If the guy who wrote and directed it is telling you that, yeah, don't avoid this movie like the plague, I think that you need to avoid this movie. And like I said, it's a story that could easily be resolved within 10-20 minutes after it happens. There's no reason to make a movie off of this, and I could not believe that this movie was as bad as it is. And the funny thing is, when I was actually getting the footage here, I completely forgot I had forgotten the trailer for this. So when I went back to look at the trailer again, I was just kind of like, oh yeah, now I remember how much I didn't like this movie. This is a film that is just, it's a one-note premise. It has nothing to gain from it. It has nothing worth watching. It's a massive misfire on so many levels. You can see why Larry David hated this movie so much. I mean, it's unbearable. It's an unbearable comedy to watch. It's one of the most blandest, boring things I've ever seen in my life, and it doesn't result to anything. The characters don't evolve. The characters don't get any better. And when it's all said and done, it's like the movie never even happened at the end. Like, they literally pull a Deus Ex Machina on you. And I mean, what more do I gotta say about it, man? This is a terrible, terrible movie. Let's move on here. We're already on a streak of disappointing fare. Let's see if that continues with our next film, Chinese Box, from Wayne Wang. Yep, another disappointment. This is the story of Hong Kong from New Year's Day to June 30th, 1997, when the British left the colony and turned it over to the People's Republic of China. And you have 9 different stories that you're following on very different levels. One of them includes Jeremy Irons and Gong Li. And there's all these different stories going on here, and you really do not give a crap about any of these stories whatsoever. Like, the Joy Luck Club works even though it has those stories that are all over the place, and you have all these different characters, but you still admire these characters. This is kind of the same problem that something like Blue in the Face had, the last movie this guy directed. An ambitious project, but just a botched delivery. And in this film here, you definitely get a sense that the film is not even trying all that much. I mean, Irons and Gong Li are trying their best to hold it together, but even then, you still have all these different storylines that just really aren't coming together as well as you want them to. And the film just ends up being another massive misfire. And that's pretty much all I got to say about that one. Nothing else more to say about that. Chinese Box, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is Homegrown.
TriStar Pictures presents.
You guys are breathing too deep.
Academy Award winner Billy Bob Thornton, Hank Azaria, Kelly Lynch, John Bon Jovi, Ryan Phillip, Judge Reinhold, John Tenney, Ted Danson, with John Lithgow and Jamie Lee Curtis.
I just think we should stop and think about this.
I have thought about it, and I agree with myself.
What do you mean?
Homegrown.
You know, I'm starting to get the feeling that a lot of these movies were supposed to come out in January and February, and then Titanic came around, and they said, oh God, we don't want to be anywhere near these. Put these terrible movies in April and May. Hopefully people will be done with that movie by then, because a lot of these movies that we talked about a lot of movies the last couple of weeks, and most of them, there are a lot more bad movies than there are good movies. And here's another disappointment. You have a small fry marijuana harvesters in Northern California trying to keep their business running, negotiating this big sale and keeping it secret. But when silent partners, the mafia, the police, and other meddlers crash the party, they begin to realize they are in over their heads. And you see a cast that includes a ton of talented people: Billy Bob Thornton, Hank Azaria, Kelly Lynch, John Bon Jovi, Ryan Felipe, John Lithgow, Jamie Lee Curtis, Ted Danson, Judge Reinhold, Jake Gyllenhaal, Steve Carell is an uncredited cameo here. There's just way too much going on in this movie to really keep you invested in what the hell's going on. And the movie suffers because of it. I mean, there's so much potential that could be done here. This is a good director, Stephen Gyllenhaal, whose last couple movies, they did Dangerous Woman, Losing Isaiah. He did stuff like The Patron Saint of Lies. I mean, this is a good director, but most of his movies are pretty bland or forgettable. And this is another one of those movies that is pretty bland and forgettable. It's a film that wants to be something interesting, wants to be something that's very unique, and just can't find that certain edge to just go that level to make it something different and stand out. And it kind of suffers because of it. It's a film that should be a lot better than it actually is, and it's just not. So we've had a lot of disappointments this week. Can we turn it around with a Woody Allen documentary? Let's see if we can do that with Wild Man Blues.
I love it. Don't think for a moment that you are what you are by yourself. You had him.
So the documentary takes a look at Allen's love of early 20th century New Orleans music by preserving performances on the 1996 tour in Europe by his New Orleans Jazz Band, which I had no idea he had a New Orleans Jazz Band, quite honestly, but he's been playing the clarinet with the band for over 25 years, and now here's the movie that pretty much shows you pretty much that. And also notable, besides the jazz band in this is also the first movie that is the first major public showcase for Allen's relationship with Soon Yi, which, of course, I don't need to tell you about that story if you've already heard about that story, but it's a pretty good documentary. I was actually really surprised. I had no idea that Woody Allen was that kind of a guy that would love it, get so much invested into New Orleans jazz, and he had this band that he's had for so many years, and it's just kind of like, that's pretty cool. That's something pretty interesting that I never knew about this guy, and it made for a pretty interesting little documentary that's very different from what we're used to seeing from a typical Woody Allen scripted film. But here you have this movie directed by Barbara Koppel, who was a notable documentary filmmaker, and it's a really cool idea. It's a really interesting film, and the music is very, very good. This is a movie that could easily get you invested in New Orleans jazz music. Like, for me, my first exposure to New Orleans jazz was actually The Princess and the Frog, but if I'd seen this first, I would have definitely gotten into it a little bit more, because stuff like this, and Treme as well, like, stuff like that really piques my interest. It made me want to get into this stuff a little bit more, and I think the film does a very good job at handling that in this case. It's nice seeing a different kind of Woody Allen in this film, and it's actually a pretty good documentary. I would definitely recommend checking it out. So we finally got a really solid, good film. Can we wrap the weekend off with a good note here? Let's see what 24/7 has to offer us.
Every morning you have another chance, but how often do you seize that day with your own hands?
I don't know, because I've never seen this movie. It was kind of pointless there, but let's talk about this movie. You have a typical English working class town, and the juveniles have nothing more to do than hang around at gigs, and you have this motivated man played by Bob Hoskins with the same kind of youth experience trying to get these young people off the street and into doing something they can believe in, boxing. And he opens up a training facility, which is accepted gratefully by them, and the gangs merge together into a group of friends. Bob Hoskins' character organizes a public fight to them to prove what they have learned. A training camp with hiking tours into the mountains of Wales forges the group into a tightly knit club society, and when the day of the fight draws closer, they get more and more excited. And like I said, I haven't seen the film. I don't really know too much about this director, Shane Meadows, even though he did stuff like the This Is England series, as well as his first film, Small Time. But I don't know. I've heard. I'm looking on here. It's got some pretty decent reviews, and Bob Hoskins usually does not turn in a really bad performance. Even in something as bad as something like Super Mario Brothers, he will put in a good performance. But yeah, as far as this film goes, I don't really know too much about it. I don't know if it's any good or not, but my interest is kind of peaked. Apparently, James Corden's also in there, too. I guess this is one of his earliest film roles in here, playing Tonka. So, it might be cool to see an early James Corden before everyone hated him. Just saying, but yeah, that's pretty much all I know about this one. So that's 24/7.
All right, gentlemen, synchronize. Get ready in 3, 2, 1. What the? Go!
I'm a contract killer. That's the only thing that I'm good at.
This is a bonus hit.
Without a doubt. 10,000 what hits the big name.
Blonde Dairy Creamer? Yeah.
I'm really sorry about the mess.
This is going to be the right time to tell them that we're engaged.
You seem like a nice enough German-Irish fella. Put. You're going to put your father in an early grave.
Got a little present for you.
Oh, who is it?
Selling tonight.
Oh, you nice them up a little. Did you clean them? Oh, a little bit.
Ew. It's kind of cute. Who is that?
You sure you don't want to go on this little caper we got planned for tomorrow? This is the girl? No, it's your mammy.
This is a kidnapping, right?
That's right.
So what's up with you guys? You playing tribute to the Spice Boys or something?
Hey, boss, what's going on?
There has been an unauthorized kidnapping. The kidnappee happens to be my goddaughter.
What? Is that true? The truth? Yeah, I want the truth.
You can't handle truth!
For the love of God and all that's holy, please shut up. Oh my God, those jokes were terrible. But, what do you expect from the same guy that also gave us the masterpiece that is Dragon Ball Evolution? This is literally written by the same guy, and this is the first of 2 scripts that he did. This, Dragon Ball. So, that should pretty much tell you everything you need to know about how this movie is. I mean, it's not a bad concept. It's a concept that's been done to death so many times. You have these cool, slick guys who are contract killers. They're guys who do these heists, and then they pull this heist, and then they pull a heist that has some accidental consequences to them, and now they become public enemy number 1. It's been something we've seen done over and over again, time and time again. But this time around, it's something that is so obnoxious and annoying. It's just kind of like the humor in this is obnoxious and annoying. Like this isn't a bad concept, but it's just bad execution. Just from the jokes. The jokes are not funny. They're referential jokes. They're jokes that are like it's like the writer of this went into a video store, saw what was on the rack, and saw something like A Few Good Men, or saw something like Spice One, and said, you know what? These things exist. This movie will remain relevant forever because if I put something in there that exists already, then that's instantly going to make it memorable. Which, no, it doesn't. You have to actually have a point to what you're trying to do here. And this just does not have a point to it. I mean, sometimes the action sequences can look pretty cool. You can definitely tell that this is a John Woo film that he's worked on as a producer. Like, this is Wesley Snipes' production company from John Woo, along with John Woo, as they're trying to make the East-West merger even further. But it just doesn't really work out that way. It's a movie that's trying to be something unique and different, trying to be something a little bit more clever and more fun, but it just doesn't have it, man. It's just a movie that just really is not as good as it should be with the talent that they have on here. Mark Wahlberg, Lou Diamond Phillips, Christina Applegate, Avery Brooks, Joaquin Woodbine, Antonio Sabato Jr., Lainey Kazan, Elliot Gould, Leela Roshan. You've got good talent in here, just bad execution on so many levels, and it's just like, it's the humor that just kills the movie overall. Like, the humor makes it so unwatchable because their lazy attempts to try to make comedy out of this, it just is just, it's not worth it. Like, it's not worth sitting through the whole movie just to have these terrible jokes sitting right in front of you. Like, if the comedy had been a little bit better, this movie would have been passable, but it's uncomfortable to sit through this one time alone, let alone trying to watch it a second time. It's just, it's not worth it, and it's just so much potential wasted on this movie. It really could have been a whole lot better, but unfortunately, it just isn't. It's a bad film with so much potential there. Just the comedy just ruins it altogether. It's a terrible film, but it's at least not as bad as our next movie, which was one of the many attempts to bring back Tarzan for a new generation, and that was Tarzan and the Lost City.
He is John Clayton, the Earl of Greystoke.
I'm Nigel Ravens, scholar and explorer. I shall uncover the ruins of the world's oldest civilization.
Here, Opa Sig Temple can do everything in my power now. Now he must return to the land he loves.
We'll be embarking on the greatest adventure of our time.
A new Tarzan for a new generation. And a new adventure to save the cradle of civilization. Caspar Van Dien, Jane March.
Welcome to the 20th century.
Tarzan and the Lost City.
With special effects that would make Ray Harryhausen spin in his grave. I mean, I don't even know if he was dead when this movie came out, but I'm sure if he was dead, he was spinning in his grave. It's just, like, just why? Why did you put those effects in there, in that trailer? Like, did you really think you were going to sell people on this movie by putting those effects in there? Just, honestly, what was the thinking behind that? And really, what was the thinking of making this movie altogether? This is a film that was just like it wants to be a throwback to the old Saturday afternoon matinee movies, like something like an Indiana Jones movie, but it's just not. It's a movie that's trying to be edgy and cool for the Pepsi generation, and it looks like something you'd see on the WB around this time, which coincidentally, they made a WB TV series on Tarzan, not but 5 years later. It has nothing to do with this, but still, man, it's just like, come on, like, you really thought you were going to sell this movie to people, and it would turn out to be a success. And it's not like Tarzan has failed to adapt into modern generations. Of course, we have the Disney movie, which we'll eventually get into here, but there was also a couple of good Tarzan movies that came before and after this. We had Greystoke, The Legend of Tarzan, which had Ralph Richardson in there, that got a late Oscar nomination, and then just recently we had something like The Legend of Tarzan, which with Alexander Skarsgård and Margot Robbie and Samuel L. Jackson, which was actually a really good movie that did get a lot of underrated that didn't get the appreciation that it probably should have gotten, but it was an underrated movie. It was actually one that I'd say definitely check that one out, because it's actually a much better movie than you would give it credit for. But that one was at least trying. This, I have no idea what they were trying to do with this movie here. I mean, you basically have Caspar Van Dien playing John Clayton, which I completely forgot that. Because if you've seen the Disney version, the name Clayton is used for the bad guy in this, and Tarzan in that movie is just named Tarzan. And so in this movie, you have Caspar Van Dien as John Clayton. It's the night before Jane Potter's wedding, and her bridegroom receives a disturbing vision of his childhood homeland in peril, and the educated explorer and treasure seeker Nigel Ravens is seeking the legendary city of Opar to plunder its ancient treasures and undiscover dangerous powers. And I don't really need to tell you the rest of the plot here. You know exactly where this is going to go. And honestly, if you took the name Tarzan off of this probably would have not helped the movie regardless, but I'm pretty sure they put the name Tarzan on there to give this some kind of a thing, to give this movie a push. But no, this thing bombed big time. It cost $20 million, $2 million on this movie to make, in terms of how much it made. Like, it's a bust on so many levels. It's just like, I mean, right from the get-go, just the effects alone that they put in that trailer to convince people to go see this, it's just, I can't believe they got away with it, but people caught on, nobody went to go see it, and it quickly came and went, and for good reason. So I don't think I need to say anything more about this one. Let's just move on. Tarzan the Lost City, let's push that aside, and let's move on to the next movie, which is Gwyneth Paltrow in Sliding Doors.
kind, babe.
Sorry, that's against the rules, isn't it?
Her old boyfriend came back into her life.
We're so good together. I'm over it. No, you're not.
When destiny brings these two together, sparks are gonna fly.
Are you loving?
No. Yes? Yes. I want Jerry to come round James. Right now, I want James to call Jerry call.
Sliding Doors.
I kissed you.
I spotted that too.
PG-13. Opens Friday, select cities, May 1st everywhere.
So you have a movie here that alienates between two different storylines. You have two paths from the central character, played by Gwyneth Paltrow, that could take, depending on whether she catches a train, and you see these different little situations here. It's kind of reminiscent of something like He Said, She Said in a way, but this draws a number of comparisons to Krzysztof Kieslowski's Blind Chance, which the outcome of which hints on whether the protagonist catches a train. And I feel like they took a lot of inspiration for that here. And the movie, it has some good ideas to it. It has a good concept, just not the best execution that really could have made this something really special. And it just ends up being a film that has some good casting overall, some good acting from Gwyneth Paltrow, and two storylines that could be very interesting, but it never really lived up to the full potential this movie really could have. I mean, Paltrow's trying her best to make this work. So is John Hannah, so is John Lynch, and Jean Triplehorn. They're all trying their best in this movie, but as far as the film itself goes, it's an okay movie, but that's something that definitely could have been a whole lot better. Something that could have been much better done if the story had been a little bit more put out there. I mean, I think a better example of a movie that came out in '98 that did this concept, that did the plot of Blind Chance much better was Run Lola Run. We'll eventually get to that one a little bit later on down the road as we continue into '98, but that's a film that did that concept much better than this movie does. It's an ambitious concept, just not a good enough execution in terms of the story. It could have been a whole lot better, but it's okay for what it is. Nothing too crazy, nothing too spectacular. Good for a one-time watch, and then you probably never need to see it again, honestly. So that's Sliding Doors. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie here. That's Robert Downey Jr., Heather Graham, and Natasha Gregson Warner in Two Girls and a Guy.
I can't even believe we're discussing this, Sean. And that's in the Catskills, huh? God, I know a lot of... No, actually, I don't know anyone who's made it in the Catskills. Hold on, let me think about it for a second.
Call me daddy, bend over and then squeal like the pig that you are for offering me this gap.
No, I'll take it.
My boyfriend lives in this building. Do you got a boyfriend?
Sorta.
What does he do?
He's an actor.
Get out, like mine! He's a real entertainer, like Liza Minnelli.
Blake Allen.
Yeah, that's his name. Who are you?
His girlfriend.
I'm his girlfriend.
And hijinks ensue. I got that confused with another title that came out around this time, Two Guys and a Girl in a Pizza Place, which came out on TV around the same time. So I got confused there at first. But this is a black comedy written and directed by James Toback. Like I said, Robert Downey Jr., Heather Graham, Natasha Gregson Warner. It follows these two girls who meet on the street outside of a loft waiting for their boyfriends, and they slowly but surely realize they're waiting for the same guy, this young actor named Blake, who says that he loves both of them, but he's actually been leading a double life for several months. And they break into his loft, and when he returns, a round of accusations and explanations begin. And it's a very interesting film. Of all the films we're looking at this week, this is probably my favorite one of the bunch. It's not a perfect movie overall, but I do like this idea that the film is shot almost entirely in real time, set in this single setting. It's like you're watching a stage play is with these three really good actors really giving it their all. I mean, Robert Downey Jr. in this movie is really great. Heather Graham is really good in here. So is Natasha Gregson Warner. It's a really, really good film. It's a film that really has a lot of good elements to it and a lot of good characters that you really get attached to. Plus, it's James Toback. I mean, James Toback makes a lot of really good, interesting little films that he does, and most of the time they turn out to be pretty good. And this is another one of those examples of a film that really is pretty solid all the way through. Not one of the best movies overall, but it's still a really good film regardless. And I definitely recommend checking this out if you're looking for some underrated Robert Downey Jr. films. This is a film that I say definitely check it out because you will not be disappointed by it. It's really well done. So with that said, on to the next movie here, and that is In God's Hands.
It's a 40-foot wall of relentless power and fury. To survive it, you must follow 3 simple rules. In God's Hands, rated PG-13.
from the director of Wild Orchid and Wild Orchid 2, and it's released by the production company created by Charlie Sheen and Bret Michaels. I think you can instantly tell where this movie ends up going. You probably never even heard this movie even existed until now, and that's probably for a good reason. You have a story basically following 3 young surfers on an action tour of the world's most exotic and dangerous surfing spots. They travel to Madagascar, Mexico, Bali, Hawaii, seeking the ultimate wave, a 40-foot force of nature that travels at speeds up to 35 miles an hour. And, yeah, you probably never even heard of this movie. I've never even heard of this movie. And there's probably a good reason why. If you go on Rotten Tomatoes, this has a 0% on there. And the co-writer of this movie described it as the worst film ever made. And if you expect a film from the director of Wild Orchid, Two Moon Junction, and Red Shoe Diaries to make a movie like this work, then I don't know what to tell you. I mean, the trailer for it looked pretty bad. I mean, it doesn't look like there's anything that exciting, anything that interesting, or anything engaging whatsoever. It's just them looking for a wave. It's just like there's better surfing movies about looking for waves that are done way better than this. Go look at something like a Blue Crush or the Endless Summer movies or even Surf's Up. Like, those are much better surfing movies than anything that I've seen from this little clip, the little footage I've seen here. So I haven't seen the movie. Who knows? Maybe it's a classic, or I'm not even going to try to pretend like it is, because like nobody. I didn't even know this movie even exists until I did the research on this. So I think we can all agree that's probably just a terrible movie. So let's try to get away from this movie. Let's move on to the last film. That is Vanessa Redgrave in Deja Vu.
And Academy Award winner Vanessa Redgrave from her current hit Mrs. Dalloway with Henry Jackman's most international and accessible film. Deja Vu.
I just been on the space before, higher on the street. Then I know it's my... Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for doing that to you. But, I mean, come on. You have a movie called Deja Vu. Of course, the first thing I'm going to think of is the Deja Vu meme. So, you have Vanessa Redgrave in here. You have this LA shop owner and this Englishman who meet and fall in love at first sight. But Sean is married to another woman and is to marry her business partner. And it gets complicated. I've never seen the movie, but it's going to get complicated. But, it's a Vanessa Redgrave movie, so I really don't doubt that Vanessa Redgrave's probably really good in this. I've never seen the film. I don't know too much about this director's other works, so I can't really say for sure if it's any good or not. But it came out this weekend. Bring it up and move on to the next thing. So let's just move on then. I was about to go to another movie, but that's the last movie we're looking at, and that is Deja Vu.